During my inauguration address on the 28th of December at this very same stadium, I mentioned the more than 700 campaign rallies that I attended across the entire country. During these rallies, you and I had lengthy and productive national conversation. In our interactions, 4 things emerged as the major concern that deserved our focus over the next 5 years. You indeed told me that a jobless Kenyan is a desperate Kenyan. You told me also that a hungry Kenyan is a negative Kenyan. You told me that a sick Kenyan is a weak Kenyan. And you also told us that a homeless Kenyan is a Kenyan without hope. You, the Kenyan people, spoke clearly. We want dignity. We want to put enough food on our tables. And we want a lower cost of living. We listened. Since, and on reflection, I have come up with 4 responses to these concerns, and I call them the big 4. Food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable health care for all of hundreds of thousands of families. We will ensure that all hides and skins are fully processed locally to support our leather industry. And in this spirit, today we direct that all boots, leather products, and textiles for our disciplined forces be procured from local manufacturers with effect from the financial year 2018-19. However, I add a word of caution. Our disciplined forces are among the best in the world. They deserve first-class goods and services, and I expect our local manufacturers to meet that high standard. On textiles, the American market, through the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, is open, but we have not yet taken full advantage. We must now strive to make the most of this market. Today, we only realize a fraction of the potential value of the clothes we export to the US. If cotton from the fabric were grown and woven locally, we would raise revenues from the current 30 billion to 200 billion shillings. Under the Big 4 plan, we will support farmers to plant cotton, which we will guarantee to buy. We have revived Rivertex and are in the process of reviving other textile plants. And we will now give incentives to investors to build more modern ginneries and textile manufacturing plants. On agro-processing, my administration will support value addition for our agricultural produce. Kenyans need to know that at present, 70% of the value of our export produce goes to processors abroad. When Kanyanyaini Tea Factory produces tea, it is packed, auctioned, and exported. The dealer who brands it for the supermarket abroad makes more than 10 times what the farmer in Kanyanyaini makes. We receive only 30% of the real value of our produce, in addition to losing out on jobs. You know also that coffee is one of the most traded commodities in the world, and Kenya is one of the world's leading producers of high-quality Arabica coffee, yet our returns from the end product of coffee production are minimal. As part of our plan, our tea, our coffee, our meat, fruits, and vegetables will now have to be processed locally. This way, we will obtain more value for our produce and create more jobs and wealth for Kenyans. Fellow Kenyans, my administration has already made some early decisions to give our manufacturing the very best chance of growth. First, as I mentioned during my inauguration speech, we have cut the cost of off-peak power to heavy industry by half. Second, we will review our work permit regime and encourage expatriates whose skills support the Big Four. As part of the arrangement, we will also expect our partners to train Kenyans in these skills. Third, the protection of intellectual property rights is a critical factor in supporting the growth of our local manufacturing. Even as we buy Kenya and build Kenya, we cannot enrich fraudsters who masquerade as well-known brands producing dangerous fakes. To protect our manufacturers and consumers from these fake products, such as cosmetics, batteries, and fake kerosene, sham products that endanger the lives of Kenyans, I have already directed that the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Anti-Counterfeit Authority to, from now, destroy on site counterfeits upon seizure. Any public officer found colluding to frustrate this process will be summarily dismissed and immediately prosecuted. Fellow Kenyans, we know from experience in other parts of the world the central role small and medium-sized enterprises can play in an economy. Here in Kenya, the bulk of employment comes from SMEs, which are an important contributor to our gross domestic product. Our plan is to create an additional 1,000 SMEs focusing on manufacturing. They will have access to affordable capital, skills, and market, and they will accelerate the growth in manufacturing upon which our success depends. I will now speak to the second question that we raised in our conversation: access to affordable and decent shelter. If the fight for independence was about ownership, the dream of our generation is to make every Kenyan a property owner. Owning a decent home is a dream for every Kenyan, and we have to make that dream come true. Take Nairobi as an example. If you rent a house in Kawangware, Kangemi, Githurai, Dandora, then under our plan, for the same amount of money that you pay rent today, you should and will be able to own your own home. And it will be a decent house built to modern standards. It is my intention that by the end of my term, 500,000 more Kenyans will own their own homes. And we shall do this by reducing the cost of mortgages, by cutting the cost of construction through the use of innovative technologies and materials, and by raising low-cost funds from private and public sector for investment in large-scale housing construction. The beauty of this plan is that it also creates, not only does it create decent homes, but also jobs and a market for our manufacturers and suppliers.